My name is Yvonne Maingey and I come from Kenya. I'm just finished working on my PhD, which is in climate change and adaptation, and I focused on looking at how development and climate change adaptation sort of link together, and in particular in a small community in Lamu, where they have some very serious water concerns, and how these water concerns would be balanced amidst large-scale infrastructural development and climate change impacts. Well, I suppose climate resilience is really about, at the heart of it is people, right? So I look at climate resilience and think about how are we empowering people, building capacity in people to be able to deal with the impacts of climate change. How are we empowering them to be able to deal with any shocks that might happen in their systems, to their water systems, to their just every single thing that they're involved in every day. How are we empowering them to be able to deal with these negative impacts of climate change? That's what it means for me. That's what it means to my country as well. So what I've seen in my country, and in particular from the work that I've done, is that there's so much knowledge and there is so much experience that we need to capitalize on. So we need to figure out how to integrate indigenous knowledge, how to integrate people's experiences to be able to make them more resilient. We need to figure out how to put them at the core of the process as well. Because what happens in my country, and I'm sure around Africa, is that you have decision makers at the top that are deciding the agenda, that are setting, setting the agenda for how things are going to happen, and not necessarily always integrating and working with stakeholders, the people who are really at the center of these changes, working with them and engaging them to be able to figure out what is the best way that we need to do this. We've talked about this a bit during the session, is also ensuring that when we engage stakeholders, it's meaningful. So climate resilience is, to me, about engaging stakeholders in a meaningful way. So we know girls and women are going to be affected in this way. Are we accounting for their views and their concerns when we think about our policies or we think about our resilience building? Are we integrating it on a very personal level? So for me, that's really what I look at when I think about climate resilience. Yeah, so I think arguably African voices are the most important when it comes to climate change right now, because Africa, we are the least responsible for the impacts of climate change, and we're experiencing them the most. And young people are the ones who are going to take over this continent. We're going to be left with flooding, going to be left with drought, we're going to be left with all these extreme weather events that we need to figure out how we're going to deal with them. So, why do we need to listen to young African voices? Because we're the least responsible and yet the most affected. But at the same time, I think Africa is an incredible, vibrant, passionate, hardworking continent. And I think the young people completely encapsulate that, and they are the perfect route, the perfect avenue to bring change on this continent. So if you engage them, if you put them at the center of all the work that we're trying to do right now, they take ownership over it, and they're the ones who really be responsible for bringing change.